Okay, so practical problem solving and programming. This is lesson 6. So we're going to be looking at while loops and how they work. Okay, so a little start activity. So we've got a pseudocode here at the bottom. So what do we think that this pseudocode will do, and what will happen, and when will it end? So the idea is that the loop will continue. So the loop will continue receiving the temperature reading from the sensor. While the temperature is less than 100, it will keep receiving temperature from the sensor, and it will end up until that condition is false. So at the moment the condition is true because the temperature will be less than 100. When that condition is false, it will end the while loop and switch off the kettle. Okay, so that's what's happening. So while loops are efficient loops that will continue to loop until condition is false. Okay, so let's have a look at a while loop in action. So the while loop is another repetition construct that tests a condition and executes the commands while that condition is true. The condition needs to change at some point, or else the program will keep running forever. While the loops are preconditioned loops, they test the condition at the beginning of the loop. So what we need to do, we need to make sure that the condition is true to enable the loop to start even. When the condition is false, that's when the loop will exit. Okay, so you'll notice there that we have declared this variable. We've declared it as n. Okay, so the loop will only start if answer, which is here, is not equal to y. So if it's not equal to y, then it will go through the loop. If it is equal to y, then it will exit the loop. Okay, so here in this loop we've got, are you tired yet? And it will keep saying, if you type in no, it will keep asking you, are you tired now, are you tired now, are you tired now, etc., until you write the letter y in. And once you write the letter y in, it will go through the loop again, and it will realize that you have put in you have changed the variable to a y, and it will exit the loop and it will go straight to print. Now notice that it's different to the Python. In Python there is no end while, whilst in pseudocode there is an end while loop there which you need to put in. Let's have a look what's next. Okay, yeah, so when this condition is false, the loop will end. So when it turns false, it will end. Just a quick note that it is a Boolean condition that we're looking at. Now, there is something called a sentry variable. We don't really need to. You won't be questioned about this in your exam, but obviously just be aware of it. And what it is, it's a variable that is declared before the while loop, so the loop can start. Okay, and it will force the loop to go through at least once. But yeah, so we call that a sentry variable. So here's another example. So we've got declared this answer as 0. So we run through the loop. So here we've got a while loop. So while the answer is less than 10, the answer is answer plus 1, and then we say print answer, and then what will happen is it will print that number. In this initial stage it will be 1 because it's 0 plus 1, print 1, then it will go through the loop and it will say 1 equals 1 plus 1, then it will be 2, and then 2 equals, or answer equals 2 plus 1, and there will be 3, and then 4, and then 5, and 6, and 10, until it reaches 10. When it reaches 10, the condition becomes true, and obviously when it becomes true, it will exit out the loop. Okay. So that initial variable, we're making this while loop, or the start of the while, false, so it can enter the loop. So just be aware of that we want to enter the loop. So when this condition is false, the while loop will end. So here are some other statements that are true. And what I've got here is I've got columns showing when the condition will become false. So when the condition will become false, so for here, so while answer is greater than 10, it will continue the loop. So when will the condition become false? When it becomes less than 10. So while answer is equal to 10, so when will it become false is when it's not equal to 10. So it's the opposite of whatever the statements there are. So while answer is less than 10, it's going to have to be greater than 10. So when it becomes greater than 10, it becomes false, and that will exit the loop. Same one here, when answer is not equal to 10, it becomes false when it is equal to 10. So as I said before, we've got a Boolean condition, which is what the whole premise of it is in the while loop. The while loop looks at the Boolean conditions and it uses them to determine whether it's true or false. And yeah, so let's have a look at the activities. So while loops often have a sentry variable, which is what I talked about earlier, which is tested in the condition. These sentry variables are usually initialized before the loop starts to make sure that there is at least one pass through the loop. So the sentry variable is normally the count. Normally it's the count variable that we sometimes use, or it might be something else. But yeah, have a go at the activities 15.2.1 all up to 2.3. So just be aware that a number of variables constantly do change as one is added to it on this line of code. So if you're looking at this line of code, here we've got number equals 0, so one number is less than 8, I think that says. It will continue the loop, and in the loop you're adding 1 to the number as it keeps going round and round and round. So it prints out this statement, the number is 1, and then it will go through the loop. Then it will say number is 2 because it's added another one. Then it will say 3. And it will say 4 because it's constantly adding another one. Okay, so if you pause the video, have a little go at some of those activities, 15.2.1 and 15.2.2 and 2.3. Have a go at that. Pause the video now, please. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to move on this PowerPoint, and we're going to watch a little video. I'm not going to play the video within the PowerPoint. The link is there at the bottom. I think this is a guy called Mada. He's got a few tutorials based around Python, and I want to have a look at the Python tutorial on the break command, because within a loop you can actually break out of it and actually force the exit, even though you may not have gone through the steps. So the break command can be used to break out of a loop when you're, for example, halfway through. So what I'd like you to do is watch this video independently. And then think about how you may use that in your programming. Okay, but yeah, so you can do that. So if you just copy down the YouTube link, so if you just pause it and just copy it down. So at this point I'm going to move on. Now in the book on page 138 there is a section on while, do and end while, and how the while loop works within pseudocode. So it says here that this loop structure is used when the number of repetitions or iterations is not known. Okay, so this is when you don't know the amount of indexes in an array. So if you don't know how many people there are, or if you don't know how many of them have paid, etc., this is where we would use the while loop. Okay, so these are only actions that are only repeated while a given condition is true. If the while condition is untrue when the loop is first entered, then the actions in the loop are never performed. So just be aware of that. If your condition is false before your loop starts, before your while loop starts, it won't start. Okay, so the condition has to be true for it to continue. So here we've got the initialization variable, which is what I was talking about at the start. We've got text there which says print enter value for mark 1. And it says input mark, so that's the user, that's the question faced to the user, and the user has to input a mark, and then you've got the while command. So you've got while mark is not equal to -1, do. Okay, so remember, when it is -1, it won't run the loop. So if it's not equal to -1, it will do the loop. So this condition is tested and at the start of the loop, so that's where it enters into the loop. So what it will do, it will say total, which is 0. Now we're going to put new data into the total variable, and it will be total, which at this point is 0 on the first time round, plus mark, whatever the mark may be. Okay, and then it will say enter value for mark, and then the same question again, -1 to finish, or enter a new mark. Import mark, and then it will do that loop again, and it will do that loop again, and it will do that loop again, etc., etc., until the user puts in -1 to exit the program. Okay, so once they exit the program by typing in -1, yeah, the loop ends. Okay, so let's have a look at the fourth activity, so 15.2.4, which is after that. Now we have a while loop and how it will be represented within flowcharts. So I want you to have a look at that and complete the flowchart for a given program. Yeah, so I'm going to pause this and I'll go through the solutions in a minute. Okay, so we've got here the activities on the left hand side and the solutions on the right. So we've got the first one, what does this while command do? Well, the program keeps asking the user if they are tired until they say yes, and then it tells them to go to sleep. Okay, so that's what it does there. So we can have a look at that, and remember that at this point, this first line here sets the condition as true. Okay, so while the answer is not equal to y, it will continue the loop. It's up until the condition is false. So when the condition is false, that's when it will go out the loop. Okay, so what is the condition that is being tested and how does it change? The condition being tested is the answer. So it's the answer variable that is being tested. So I'll scroll down to 15.2. So we've got 15.2 here. Write a program that asks the user if they are hungry. While they reply N, the program repeats the question. So it will keep repeating the question using that condition. So you need to make sure your variable is set as N. Okay. And then while they reply yes, the program tells them to get something to eat. So here is that program. So here we've got the statement to start the loop off. We've got a counter with it as well, so it keeps going. And because it does say here showing how many times they have replied, so we need some way of recording the number of times it goes through the loop. So we start off with the while, and we've got the print command. Are you hungry? You have been asked. This command here in Python allows you to type in or have a variable set up a number of times. Okay, so you can say a counter. So we've got the format counter. So what this bit here is doing, it's allowing you to put in whatever is in here into here. Okay, you could rephrase that and you can say you have been asked counter times. Okay, so you could put in comma. Oh, well, you can have to close the speech marks there, and then have counter, and then comma, and then times. So the word times, okay, in speech marks as well, okay, and then you can get rid of all that and just have the close bracket there. That is acceptable, okay, because it will print out whatever the variable is there. But just be aware that you'll keep printing that out because you're printing it out every time you are going through the loop. So once it does that, it will ask you to please respond yes or no, and then it will add one to the counter, and then it will say please eat something only if you answer the question as yes. Okay, so if you answer the question as yes, then it will come out of the loop and it will do that. Otherwise, if you keep typing in N, it will keep doing the loop. So activity 5.2.3, so we've got what does this program do? Well, the program prints out the numbers from 1 to 8. That's a nice easy one. What is the century variable? The century variable is the number. So the number variable here is the century variable. It's the one at the start or the one before the while loop that makes sure that that while loop starts and is initialized, because we need to make sure we've got that and we understand that. We understand that the century variable is used to initialize a loop. So what is the condition? Well, the condition is when number is less than 8. Okay, so when number is less than 8, the condition, so at the moment the condition is true, and it will keep going until it doesn't meet this condition here, until number becomes 8 or above 8, okay, greater than 8. Then that means that this condition will be false. And when it's false, as I said earlier, it exits the program. Okay, so let's have a look at 5.2.4. It says here flowcharts and while command. Flowcharts can be used to represent programs. Here's a flowchart here. We've got the tired, going to sleep while loop. So let's have a look, see how it works. Okay, so we've got the first one. So we know that the sentry variable is always going to be first. Okay, so we've got the first sentry variable, and it's just before the decision. So we've got the decision answer is not equal to y. Is it true? If it's true, then we've got the loop, we've got the while loop going here, nice and round, excellent. And then when the answer is false, we would have the output of the process box saying print, go to sleep. Nice and easy. Yeah, so if I, hang on. Yeah, so those are the solutions for the tasks 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4. Right, there is a homework attached to this, but I understand that obviously it's up to the teacher or to me, but there is a little homework here. Programming challenge require the use of a while loop, so programs must be written in program code. So we've got pseudocode there. Can you write your own while loop, and could you create something based on the kettle's boiling temperature, create some sort of Python while loop for kettle boiling. Okay, so thank you for listening to my lesson, I think 6 this is. So yeah, I think the next bit is looking at task 2 on the pre-released material. So see you there.